going to talk about solar panels today, the different types of agreements, and kind of what it means, like what each one means, like what you need to do, all right? So, oh, there it is. Okay, so the types of solar. So, oh, forgot. I have these for you. So these are all like the information on the different types of solar. So go ahead and come on up and grab one right here, guys, so you can keep these. They're also in your onboarding booklet. We do go over this in onboarding. It's the last page, but now you got a new copy. Thank you, Michelle.
Wait, I think there's more. It's just sticking together. You're right.
So pretty much all of the information that I'm going to talk about today is like on these sheets. I made these like a really long time ago. But like what I see, and this happens a lot, like deals fall out of escrow a lot because of solar, when they absolutely should not. Like you can totally like avoid that happening at the beginning of the deal. So there's three main types of solar, all right? There's owned solar. So it actually belongs, like the homeowner owns the panels and all the equipment. Then there's a leased solar, which is like you're renting all of the equipment. And then there's a PPA, or a power purchase agreement. That is also like a lease. You're renting the equipment for a certain period of time, but the way you pay for it differs, all right? So the benefits of having solar. So when you're talking to your clients that, let's say this house has solar, right? And they're asking you questions about it. Like you need to be able to talk about the benefits of it a little bit, right? Or at least understand it. Most people know that it's going to reduce the electricity bill most of the time, right? So if it can cover all of the electricity, like so if it's a big enough system, it could cover all of it. Or sometimes they may have their solar bill plus their utility bill, right? If they use more energy than the solar system produces, they're also going to get a bill from the solar company or from the utility company. All right? The size of the system determines how much energy that it's going to basically capture from the sun. And they measure the size of a solar system by kilowatts. All right? So like whenever you look at a solar contract, it'll say like what the size is. It'd be like, 5 kilowatts, 6 kilowatts, sort of. That's how they measure how big it is, all right? It doesn't go by like how many panels there are or anything like that. That's the size. The older systems, you used to have a lot more panels to get the same amount of kilowatts as like a brand new system can get with like half the panels, right? So more panels doesn't equal more electricity in solar. It's all about the kilowatt size. So that's the benefits. It's going to reduce their bill. And it's more eco-friendly. Okay, owned solar or owner solar. So the buyer, let's say you're going to show a house, Alyssa. If it has solar and it's owned, that can mean two things. One, it's paid off, so there's no monthly payment. Or two, there is a loan on it still, so you're making a payment on it, like a car payment. All right? If you're going to buy that, most of the time the seller's going to want the buyer to take over the solar. Sometimes they'll pay it off in escrow, but a lot of times they want the buyer to assume the loan. All right? Your buyer, you need to, one, put that in your contract. And then number two, the buyer's going to have to qualify for that with the solar company to get that solar. If they qualify for the house, they'll usually qualify for the solar system. But what you have to be careful of, and this is what just happened today, if there's a set monthly payment, you have to tell the lender what that payment is, all right? Because that does affect the buyer's ability to qualify for the mortgage. The lender is going to have to put that monthly payment, that extra $200 a month they're going to have to pay now, has to go into their debt to income ratio. So what happens is if you have a client, let's say, and they're maxed out at 400, right? And then you're going to go show them a house that is at 400, or you're going to write an offer right at 400. That's like their max, right? They cannot go up any higher than that. And if this house has solar and the lender didn't know about it, guess what's going to happen when the lender finds out there's a solar payment? Your buyer no longer qualifies to buy that house. That happened to us this morning. So they were maxed out. we thought it was a different type of agreement where it doesn't include that. Turns out, no, there's a monthly payment. So guess what? The buyer no longer qualifies for the loan to buy the house, and escrow canceled. So that actually happens all the time. So when the agent doesn't ask about that, or doesn't make sure that the lender knows that there's solar, you get partway through the deal and the lender's gonna be like, hey, there's solar on this house. They don't qualify for that amount. And the way to kind of know how much more they need to qualify for, think of it like for every $10,000 that they're assuming, it's like an extra, for every $100 on the payment that they're assuming, it's about $10,000 more that they need to qualify for. So if the payment is $200 a month, then they really would need to qualify for $420 instead of $400 to buy that house. Does that make sense? It's not perfectly $100, but it's pretty close. All right, so that's one thing when you're looking for houses to show your clients. You should be looking at the MLS. You should be saying, okay, this one's at their max price, but it has solar. Is it owned or is it a lease? If it's owned and paid off, you're good. You should show that house. But if there's a loan and then it says that the buyer to assume, then they're not going to qualify to buy that house unless you can get the price decreased, right? So you want to take that into consideration on the houses that you're showing your clients. It's kind of like the FHA flip rule, right? They're FHA and it's within the 90 days. You probably shouldn't show them that house because they can't buy it, right? It's kind of the same thing. And what else? So owned solar does add value to the property on an appraisal. You don't get all the value. So if it costs like $30,000 to install the system, you're not getting $30,000 worth of value. The most I've ever heard is like 50%. But it's totally up to the appraiser. They're going to look at the other houses in the area, see if they have solar. It's going to be based off that, right? But it does, whether it is paid off, it used to be only if it was paid off. And I believe they changed it last year. I'll have to double check this. I believe they changed it last year, though, that even if there's a payment, you'll still get value for it. Only if it's owned, though. If it's a lease or a PPA, you do not get value on the appraisal. And then once it is paid off, it stays with the house, right? So the solar company, like the homeowner owns all the panels, they own all the equipment. So once it's paid off, it stays there forever. They don't come and take it off your house for you. Any questions on owned solar? Yes?
Will they get free solar after that?
Once they pay off the solar? Yeah. Yeah, because let's say the system costs you can buy it cash right now. Like if it costs 30 grand, I can just give them 30 grand and then whatever electricity that it produces, I don't pay for because I paid for the system.
But is it every paid solar, it does have a true-up bill? All of them?
Okay, so a true-up bill is gonna be, let's say you have a system and you use more energy than the system produces, right? So now the rest of that energy, that comes from PG&E. Like they're gonna steal, and they charge you way more for it if you have solar. It's like ridiculous. So then you're like, whatever money that whatever electricity you're taking from PG&E, that's where they're gonna bill you for that. And that's what they call a true-up bill, because it doesn't go like on a monthly basis now, it goes on a yearly basis. So whatever month your solar system gets turned on, that following year, at that same month, if you used more electricity than the solar panels produced, you're gonna get a bill for the difference. And so sometimes it can be really small. You'll hear people talk about their true-up bills like nothing, or there is no true-up bill. That means the panels cover everything. You also hear people say that I got a $5,000 true-up bill, meaning they use way more energy than what the system produced.
And they only get charged that once a year?
Yes, you can pay it early, but yeah, it's only due once a year.
And does it matter if it's like owned or if it's leased, or is it?
No, if it's owned or leased, yeah, if you use electricity from PG&E, you're gonna get a bill. And it's gonna be a true-up, they call it a true-up bill. And they do that on a once-a-year basis. Because sometimes you can overproduce and they'll credit you. So it can kind of fluctuate and go up and down.
So it'll offset it, right?
Yeah, it can potentially offset it. Like I know my dad's house, he has like no true-up bill because some months he gets a credit, right? But then like the summer months, it's negative, right? So it balances out over a course of a year.
And then you always tell their the clients that they can monitor all that on their monthly PG&E statement.
Yes, yeah, you can see what it's at because you're going to get a bill from PG&E every month regardless. So you still have to have PG&E with solar, like because they're the one that control the grid, right? The whole electrical grid. So you still have to have an account with them. You can monitor, they monitor how much solar your house produces, and you can see all of that. They'll give you graphs and all that. Yes.
So if, say somebody gets their true-up bill in May,
Mm-hmm.
and they know it's coming, and so, and it's gonna be $5,000, and they sell in March, is the true-up bill gonna come to the new buyer?
That's a good question. I don't believe so because PG&E is it's not attached to the house; it's attached to the person.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've dealt with shit like that on my flips. Yeah, I didn't have to pay their crazy electric bills that they didn't pay. That's one of the reasons people sell their houses because they can't afford the bills, right? Yeah, I didn't get hit with that like water bill.
It's probably paid at closing.
I mean, if they attach a lien to the house for it, yeah. But if it's not due yet, then they're not going to do that. But once you go to disconnect your service from that house, they're going to say, hey, you owe us this money. They're going to get their money. Yes.
I talked to a solar company this morning on a listing that was foreclosed.
Uh-huh.
I asked them what was gonna happen because they had terminated the service.
Yep.
They said they were gonna come over, rip out the solar, and if the buyer wants solar, they're gonna have to get a new service from somebody.
Yeah. You know why that happens?
Money?
Well,
That's such a great rate that they want to take you with them.
no. So when a foreclosure happens, usually it's because the bank, right, is foreclosing on the house, and the bank is in the first position on title. Like it goes government, taxes, right? They get their money first, and then usually the mortgage company, if they're going to do a loan on the house, they will not do a loan if they are not in the first position, because what happens to everything else behind it? If whoever is in front of you forecloses, everything else behind it gets wiped out. So the solar lien that was filed on the property was not in the first position. It was in the second or third or wherever it is down the line. So when the mortgage company foreclosed, everyone else that's owed money behind them, they're out of luck. So they're gonna go rip it off. Most of the time, they'll just leave it there. But yeah, that solar loan and all that stuff, that all got wiped out.
Yeah, but even if they leave it there, the new buyer has to find service from somebody, and it didn't sound like this company had any interest in continuing to provide solar for that property.
Maybe, that's up to them. Yeah, I mean, if you buy the house, they're now owned, right? They're now a part of the house. Like when you buy a house, whatever's attached to it comes with the house. So if you want to hire an electrician or a roofing company to go rip them up off there, that's your prerogative. It's your house, right? And if you want to get a new solar company or whatever, you can do that. It's not the solar company's responsibility to go out there and help the seller do it because the previous seller didn't pay their bill. Once you buy the house and it's, especially foreclosure, as is, like as you get it, you're responsible for all that.
I take it the solar contract has an easement?
The solar contract is void because it got foreclosed on.
No, but they have the right to go on the property and rip the stuff off even though it's not their.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. You have to read the contract. Yeah. Cool, all good questions. Any other questions on own solar? Most important thing to know to help you guys, if you are showing houses and the house has solar, so this happens on my listings. Anytime one of our listings has solar, the first thing they ask me for is the solar agreement. You need to do that because you want to find out what type of agreement it is and if there's a monthly payment. All right, if there's a monthly payment, you need to tell the lender that, hey, there's solar, there's a monthly payment of $215. Do they still qualify? Yes or no, right? That's going to determine if they can buy that house or not. So that will save you a lot of headaches versus trying to do it in the middle of escrow, then finding out they don't qualify. And then now we have to cancel, right? And I see that happen a lot. A lot of agents don't know to do that. And then we find out later, and sure as shit, You don't qualify. All right, leased solar. Similar to owned, except they just don't own the panels, all right? So they're renting the panels. It's at a fixed monthly rate, so the payment does not change, right? Just like a loan payment, the lease payment, it doesn't change. It's a flat rate. And it's the same exact thing. Whatever the panels produce, if you use less than that, you don't have your true-up bill. If you use more than that and you pull energy from PG&E, then you're going to get a bill. All right, so another thing that people like to know about solar is, does it cover all of the electricity usage? You kind of have to consider, like, who lives there right now, right? If it's a single person and you have a family of 5 and they say, yeah, it covers all the electricity, well, that's based on them, right? Not the family of 5 that's going to move in. So it's totally based on how much they're going to use, right? But you can kind of get an idea. A lot of people ask for, like, the most recent PG&E bills as well to verify how much it uses. People ask for that all the time. So you want to ask for that information up front. A lot of times on the MLS, well, not a lot, they should, on the attached docs section on the MLS, that's where we will put the solar documents. Agents that know what they're doing a lot of times, that's where they'll put it. But if it's not there, then you should ask for it, right? And then you can see what type of agreement that it is, and if it's going to affect the buyer's loan or not. All right? If it's owned or leased, it affects the loan. PPA, it does not affect the loan. All right? So, like I said, this one does affect their debt-to-income ratio. Most leases are around 20 years long or so. Same thing with the loans, 20, 25 years. The difference is you don't own the panels. So once the lease is over, they're going to come take the panels off the house. Whether or not they're going to actually do it, I don't know, because they're outdated by that time. There's also when a lot of times there'll be like an option to purchase for like a way cheaper price at that time as well. It just depends on like the solar company and the contract. Any questions on leases?
I know a lot of solar companies kind of come and go.
Yep, they go out of business left and right.
The contracts, as another company's taking, I'm guessing they're taking over previous contracts.
Sometimes.
That's what I mean. Are they grandfathered in, or do they have to sign a new contract with their?
They're usually grandfathered in. So for a perfect example, all new construction homes after 2017 have to have solar, right? So since 2017, every single new home in California built has to have solar. And so the builders partner with these solar companies to put it on there, right? A lot of times it's a lease. Sometimes there's an option to purchase. All those new homes out on Stockdale Highway and Heath out there, this happened to us. That whole neighborhood, we had a couple listings, was SunPower. SunPower filed bankruptcy like 6 months ago, and they froze everyone. Every single house in escrow fell out of escrow in that entire neighborhood, ours included. And so it was a nightmare because no one had like taken them over. They were under SunPower and then Sun Solar. Sun Solar owned SunPower, and even with that, you couldn't transfer it. Like they were so bad. They didn't know it was going to happen. They just would not do transfers. So you were just stuck unless you were going to pay it off. And then I've had solar companies break their contracts all the time too. I sold another house over on, was it Bluestone or Bluegrass over in Rosedale? The solar companies had gone out of business so many times that it kept going to new companies. This is my friend's house. We found them, we got them in an escrow on their next house, had the buyer for this house, and we're going to transfer it, right? The buyer was going to take over the new solar. It says explicitly in the contract that if they sell the property, you can transfer it to the next buyer. The solar company said they would not honor that they no longer do transfers. Literally in the contracts. So what had to happen? My client had to pay off $30,000 solar through escrow in order to sell his house. Now, we negotiated the price up a bit, right? Because it was going to add some value to the house, but luckily they just had enough equity and wanted the next house so bad that they were willing to do it. But that will blow a deal up very quickly. So solar companies do break their contracts all the time as well. And what are you going to do? You got to sue them, right? So you're going to go through court for years, and you're going to lose your buyer by then. Yeah. So the only option was like it had to get paid off, and Usually sellers just be like, well, screw it, I'm just going to stay here. But they wanted the house bad enough that they're like, well, we'll just pay it off. And they had enough equity to do it. They had been there for a very long time. So it's important to know that stuff. So always look at the solar contracts. Any questions on leases?
So you said that all new homes have to have solar. So what if somebody buys a new home, and you said it's usually leased, or?
Most of what I see, it'll be leased, but it depends on the builder and the deal that they work out with like the solar company. I think they might give you an option, and what they do is like they build it into the price of the home too, I think, like if you're buying them.
So I was thinking like if
That could vary track to track though
I was
also.
thinking if somebody bought a new house and it was leased, but they wanted to buy it, that wouldn't be an option, because it already has leased solar on it.
Yeah, like if it has leased solar and like you're buying the house, you're like, well, I want to buy the solar. Well, it's already got a lease. Like you take over the lease. Unless there's like a buyout clause in that contract, there usually is, but it's like not for a certain amount of time, I think. All that stuff varies company to company. Any other questions on leases? Okay. Last one. This is probably the easiest one to deal with. It's the most common. It is a PPA. It does not affect the buyer's debt-to-income ratio. Anybody want to guess why it doesn't affect the debt-to-income? It's not a fixed rate. Yep. Stupidest thing in the world. So because with a PPA, this is the easiest to explain to your client. Like, hey, you're going to pay for electricity anyways from PG&E, right? This one has solar, and it's on a power purchase agreement, which means you're still just paying for the electricity. You're just paying half of what it costs at PG&E. So like you're paying per kilowatt on a PPA. But the solar company is only charging like 18 cents a kilowatt, whereas PG&E is charging like 40 cents a kilowatt. So it reduces the bill in that way. You're still paying for electricity, you're just paying it at a lower rate. So that's the easiest one to explain. That one typically is a pretty easy transfer. They don't usually, I don't think they have to qualify for it. They might check their credit, but I don't believe they do. What else? Does not add value. This is a type of lease that they don't own the panels or the equipment, so it's like they're renting them, so it doesn't add any value to the property, and they will get removed from the property once that term, usually 20 years or so, is up. And there's probably also like a buyout option on that one too. Let's see. Most important thing, like I said, if it has solar, you need to know which one of these three types of solar it is, usually prior to showing the house. You want to know that information so that you can tell the buyer about it while you're at the house. Also, if there's a monthly payment, like usually it's in the agent remarks, it'll say like buyer to assume the solar or something like that. If you know they have to assume the solar, you need to tell the buyer about that before you write the offer, right? And then also if there's a monthly payments, you need to make sure the buyer knows that, and you also have to make sure the lender knows that, because that's going to affect them qualifying for the house. The only one that doesn't is the PPA. So if it's a PPA, you're good. You don't got to worry about it. You can still tell them about it, obviously, but you don't have to tell the lender. Any questions on any of this? No? Was this helpful? You guys, most of you know this information already? I literally see deals blow up all the time because of this. Like people they don't know this. So the main thing, like you got to know which three it is, right? It's going to be one of these three. Like that's it. It's going to be one of these three. So know which one it is. Ask for the solar agreement. Like if you're going to write an offer, ask for it so you can verify, because that's what happened with Jose. They told him one thing, it ended up being a different thing. And said, oh, we'll just figure it out in escrow. Well, guess what? We figured it out in escrow, and sure as shit, now we don't qualify. And 2 weeks, and inspections, and appraisal paid for, buyer loses all that.
What if the seller doesn't have that on this? Can we contact the solar company and get it from them, or is that not?
Yes. So I'm glad you brought that up because that reminded me. So what happens? You get into escrow. So if they don't have it, then the seller would need to contact the solar company to get it, right? And I will not get offers on my listings until we do that from a lot of people. They'll ask for it. I say, oh, we don't have it yet. Cool. Send it when you got it, right? And so we have to tell the seller, hey, you need to call the solar company and tell them that they can talk to us, first of all, because the solar company won't give it to us without the owner authorizing them to talk to us, just like a bank. And you need to get a copy emailed and then send me the copy. And then we can usually put it on the MLS or send it out to the agent that is interested. That way they can review the whole solar contract. You said that and that reminded me, okay, you get into escrow. What is the process now for the transfer? So generally the seller, it's usually a pretty easy transfer process. The seller has to tell the solar company, hey, I'm selling my house, and the buyer is going to assume the loan or the lease. All right, so the seller has to initiate the transfer. So what we want to make sure that happens is that the listing agent tells their client to do that, or if we're the listing agent, that we tell our client to do that right away. That is a part of the disclosure process. We are supposed to send them the whole thing. In the contract, it says like they have to get the agreement in the first week. So the reason like we're covered on this one is because we didn't get disclosures or the solar contract until like yesterday. Even if we had removed contingencies, would not matter. You get 5 days after disclosures are delivered to be like to decide if you're going to move forward or not. So we're good there, but they're supposed to send it within the first week, and they didn't. So always make sure that's a part of the disclosure process. Once the seller tells the buyer or the solar company that they're transferring, they're going to start the transfer process. They're going to usually contact the buyer. So they're going to need the buyer's agent and the buyer's information. They're going to email them the application, and they're going to have to go through that whole process of either getting approved or qualified for the transfer, or at least just give them all the information. Once that's done, that's pretty much it. You want to get really into the weeds. What happens is every solar company puts what's called a UCC filing against the house. The house can't be sold as long as that is there. So what they do is they get in contact with the escrow company, and they will temporarily remove the UCC filing, allow escrow to close, and then they'll put it back on the house in the new buyer's name. So that's in the weeds of how that works. But if you ever hear that from escrow, oh, there's a UCC filing, they're usually talking about that. All right, guys, that's it. Pretty easy training today, but literally something that people mess up a lot. So really important. If it has solar, is it paid off or not? If it's not paid off, is there a flat payment? If there is, tell the lender and get the contract. Save yourself a lot of headaches and a lot of upset clients. All right, that is it for today. So you guys have that now as well. It is 11:07. Go ahead and take a quick break, and then we're going to make calls until noon.